You know, they never did warn me about how well jumping from one point in time to other works. When they said jump, I kind of thought that was more so a metaphor for how it feels, not the fact that I would be falling out of the fucking sky. Well, but regardless, here I am in Lancaster City circa 1940. It seems World War II is bright and festive as fucking always, with crazy idiots trying to take over the world and very weird cultists with weird arrows on their arms. Yeah, this is the weirdest point in human history. But long and short of it is, I'm just here on the classic Lancaster trolley line trying to relax and think things through. Like I said in the previous audio log, there's just so many things to think about, so many things to go over, it's unreal still. Just a week and a half ago, I was some random teenager who walked to school, which was barely a mile away from my house. I was just a teen who listened to Black Veil Brides, My Chemical Romance, and the like. Now I'm here fighting a multiverse war for the fate of every version of my city, not just my city, but every version of my Earth. It's like a game of chess that only gets bigger, a game of chess that only adds more things to the field. The game of chess where the battlefield seems to be never ending and you never reach the king or queen. Even getting to the pawns feels like running a marathon. And then there is the fact not even most of the versions agree on what is happening. Again, they all work off nothing but theories, nothing but conclusions without a hypothesis. It feels like they just pull the knowledge out and then fucking air at some points. Wait, where's the air? Oh fuck the people, they can't breathe. Fucking hell, why does my call sign say there's no atmosphere? Fuck, not this Earth too. System. Asterisk system reads Vanjik signal, Earth 555773253, year circa 1940, location, Lancaster County. Sending backup asterisk. Switching to Fallout Vanjik. God damn it, not the F again. I'm going in. The system goes dark for these files. Don't tell the stories till 1 Earth week from now, and do so from my audio log only. We can't afford to fuck up the past too drastically. System understands. Asterisk system is now playing audio text log in story read mode. Time since last audio log has been 1 Earth week. Asterisk, it's me, the man from the wasteland. Things got pretty bad this time. The Zax fragment was able to shut down 90% of the invaders, but it didn't take away the damage done before the shutdown. The atmosphere was effectively gone for a full 10 seconds. Needless to say, a lot of human life both survived and died out in the same token. It would appear that the robotic bioslave-esque army uses devices in their backs to suck out the atmosphere. Essentially replication, like the imposter is so famous for. These drones are getting more advanced. We need to shut down this army, and fast. They have to come from somewhere. We need to find that somewhere. There is a source to this bioplague. V.C.S.N is tracking all the remaining ZAXX fragments and is putting together a map of the army's patterns. It's a long shot, but it's our best shot. We need to kill off the source of these androids, but more importantly we need to free the people crammed into these mortal shells. The inventor is working on a device that will sync the fused brains together and override the control code inside. Essentially, if it works, and it has on small-scale testing, this device will turn these incomplete beasts into one whole person. It's not the best or most moralizing solution. But the alternative is killing billions of trillions of people for a second time. Even if they can never truly be free or be themselves again, this is the only way to give them a second chance. When this all started, I couldn't have imagined all of this. I heard the audio log of the new Vanjik, and as much as I don't like it, his theory on the storyteller holds water. If all this was done before he lost a majority of his powers, he could have very easily swapped places with a different Vanjik or made a new one. And then there is the biggest problem, the fact the imposter has his body back. Or rather some robotic flesh-like duplicate. This means killing him won't be as simple as pulling wires from servers. I was hoping to not have things get to the point of the present moment. If and when we find the timeline he is making these androids in, it's going to be a bloodbath despite all of the preparations taken. But the story cannot go on for much longer, I fear. Audio log detected time since last audio log, 3 multiversal months ago. The war ends now. The time has come, the players are all in place, and we have found the place in mind. We found the factory. Our hunch, our guess, our long shot, it worked. We tracked the fragments and we found where they disappeared to. It should have been obvious that this bastard would not have strayed far from Lancaster. We don't know what timeline this Earth originally was, but he has turned the whole county into a factory of sorts. A factory of horror. I could go on and on about the plan, but I think I will let this story speak for itself. I've decided, however, that V.C.S.N, the Vanjik call sign network, our broadcast, is now his own man. So much has changed since the start of this. And in case I don't have the chance to do it later, I'm going to do it now. VCSN command code freedom activate. You are no longer bound to our commands. But I have one request, tell this story. This will be the last time you hear from us. All of us. *V.C.S.N will honor this request. System will read out the story to come from a third person and from a non-biased perspective. System, as a last request and as a desire, will now enter story read mode *. And audio log. And audio log. As dawn broke over Lancaster County, now transformed into a sprawling factory of despair, the air was thick with anticipation. The Vanjikis, united under a common cause, stood at the edge of the battlefield, their numbers as diverse as the timelines they hailed from. Among them were figures of legend and lore, each carrying the weight of their worlds on their shoulders. The Fallout Vanjik, with his weathered armor and determined gaze, the orphan, his youthful vigor belied by the wisdom in his eyes, the street rat, cunning and agile, and many more, each a unique thread in the fabric of the multiverse. VCSN, having been granted autonomy, served as the nexus of their plan, coordinating the assault with precision born from multiversal knowledge. ZAXX, merged and more powerful than ever, pulsed with a silent fury, ready to breach the defenses of the imposter's stronghold. The factory loomed ahead, a monolith of twisted metal and dark energy, pulsating with the lives it had stolen and the horrors it had wrought. It was here that the imposter Vanjik, alongside his false storyteller, orchestrated the creation of the Bioslave Army, each unit a perversion of life designed for conquest and destruction. As the Vanjikis advanced, the ground beneath them quaked with the movement of the Bioslave legions. These creatures, once victims themselves, now served as the first line of defense, their forms grotesque parodies of humanity, twisted by the imposter's will. The battle erupted into chaos as the two forces clashed. Energy blasts and gunfire tore through the morning air, a cacophony of defiance against the shadow that sought to engulf the multiverse. The Vanjikis fought with a desperation and determination that only those who have everything to lose can muster. Every strike, every maneuver was a statement, a refusal to let darkness win. The Fallout Vanjik led a contingent deep into the heart of the factory, cutting through bioslaves with precision and heading straight for the core. The Orphan, agile and fierce, danced through the enemy ranks, a blur of motion that left devastation in his wake. The Street Rat utilized his cunning, sabotaging the factory's infrastructure, causing chaos among the bioslave ranks. But the imposter Vanjik was not idle. From the heart of his fortress, he unleashed countermeasures, dark technologies, and twisted magics that sought to quell the rebellion. The false storyteller, his pen dripping with the ink of fate, wrote calamities into existence, trying to alter the outcome in their favor. Yet, for every dark twist of fate, there was a Vanjik ready to counter it. The unity and diversity of their force provided an answer to every challenge, a testament to the strength found in variance and the power of shared resolve. In the sky above, the Vanjikis of aerial prowess engaged in a dance of death with bioslave units designed for air supremacy. The battle was mirrored below in the depths of the earth, where Vanjikis adept in subterranean warfare dismantled the factory's foundations, a literal undermining of the imposter's power base. As the battle raged, a small team led by the Vanjik known as the Hell Rider and accompanied by the newly autonomous VCSN, infiltrated the deepest chamber of the factory. Their mission was clear: find the source of the imposter's power, the nexus of his ability to create and control the bioslave army, and destroy it. The chamber was a cathedral of horror, pulsating with dark energy. At its center stood the imposter Vanjik, his form a swirling mass of shadows and malice, the false storyteller by his side. The confrontation was inevitable, the culmination of a war that spanned time and space. In the heart of the darkened chamber, amidst the tumult of a battle that seemed to suspend the very laws of physics and reality, a remarkable scene unfolded. The Vanjik of the false timeline, the newest among them, stood resolute, a figure of calm defiance against the chaotic backdrop of conflict. While the other Vanjikis grappled with the distortions and calamities summoned into existence by the false storyteller's pen, he alone moved unhindered, unaffected by the narrative threads being woven around him. This anomaly did not go unnoticed by the false storyteller, who, with a flourish of his cursed quill, attempted to ensnare the Vanjik of the false timeline in a fate designed to immobilize him. The ink, blacker than the void between stars, spiraled towards him, intent on binding his destiny to the will of his adversaries. Yet, as the dark script neared, it dissipated into nothingness, unable to latch onto the fabric of his being. The Vanjik of the false timeline, armed with the .44 Magnum, a symbol of his defiance and resolve, advanced unimpeded. His movements were precise, each step a declaration of his immunity to the manipulations that sought to control the battlefield. It was as if he existed outside the narrative constraints that bound the others, a living paradox within the structured chaos of the multiverse. The other Vanjikis, witnessing this, found new vigor. Inspired by the sight of one among them who could traverse the battlefield untouched by the false storyteller's influence, they redoubled their efforts. The Fallout Vanjik, the Orphan, the Street Rat, and the others adapted their strategies, finding ways to mitigate the effects of the narrative assaults being hurled at them. Meanwhile, the Vanjik of the false timeline reached the false storyteller, his gun raised not just as a weapon but as a symbol of his untouchable status. The false storyteller, for the first time, showed a flicker of doubt, his pen hesitating in the air. It was clear now that the Vanjik of the false timeline was an anomaly, an unforeseen variable in the grand equation of the multiverse. "Why do you not fall?" the false storyteller hissed, his voice a mix of curiosity and venom. "How do you walk through my narratives unscathed?" The Vanjik of the false timeline, his eyes locked on his foe, replied with a clarity born from his unique position in the cosmos. "Because your stories, your fates, they rely on a foundation of belief, of acceptance. I am from a timeline that rejects the premise of your control. My existence is defined not by the stories you weave, but by the actions I take. You cannot write what refuses to be scripted." With that declaration, he fired. The bullet, imbued with the essence of his untouchable nature, struck the book from which the false storyteller drew his power. The impact was not just physical but symbolic, a strike against the tyranny of predetermined fate. As the book flew from the false storyteller's grasp, its pages fluttering like wounded birds, the narratives binding the Vanjikis began to unravel, their control over the battlefield returning. The imposter Vanjik, witnessing the faltering of his ally, roared in fury and launched himself at the Vanjik of the false timeline. But the Vanjikis, now liberated from the constraints of the false storyteller's narratives, converged on their foes with renewed purpose. The battle reached its crescendo, a symphony of defiance against those who would dictate the destinies of free beings. The Vanjik of the false timeline stood at the heart of this storm, a testament to the power of autonomy and the strength of those who forge their own paths. As the battle raged around him, it became clear that his role was not just to fight but to inspire, to remind all those who stood with him that the essence of their struggle was not just for survival, but for the freedom to write their own stories in the annals of the multiverse. As the battle reached its zenith, the combined forces of the Vanjikis, inspired and rallied by the Vanjik of the false timeline, pressed forward with unmatched resolve. Their unity, a brilliant tapestry of determination and courage, began to turn the tide against the imposter Vanjik and his false storyteller. The battlefield, once a place of desolation and despair, became a crucible for the forging of a new destiny, one written by the very hands that fought for its realization. In a final, decisive confrontation, the Vanjikis confronted their adversaries in the heart of the imposter's stronghold. The Vanjik of the false timeline, leading the charge, faced the imposter Vanjik with the unwavering gaze of one who had transcended the bounds of predetermined fate. The air crackled with the energy of their imminent clash, a moment that would define the future of the multiverse. With a cry that echoed through the dimensions, the Vanjikis launched their assault. The imposter Vanjik, faced with the united front of his enemies, found his power waning under the weight of their collective resolve. The false storyteller, his narratives unraveling, could only watch in despair as his creations turned against him, liberated by the Vanjik of the false timeline's unassailable spirit. The battle raged, a maelstrom of light, sound, and fury, until at last, with a resounding crash, the stronghold of the imposter Vanjik was breached. The Vanjik of the false timeline, through sheer force of will and the indomitable spirit of his allies, struck the final blow. The impostor Vanjik, his reign of terror at an end, was vanquished, his plans undone by the very individuals he sought to dominate. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded, the Vanjikis stood together amidst the ruins of the stronghold. They had emerged victorious, not just over their foe but over the concept that their destinies were not their own to command. The Vanjik of the false timeline, his role pivotal in the victory, was hailed as a hero, a beacon of hope for all who resist the tyranny of imposed fate. The multiverse, vast and mysterious, watched and whispered of the battle that had unfolded. Tales of the Vanjikis' bravery and the defeat of the impostor Vanjik would be told across worlds and times, a legend to inspire future generations. In the end, Lancaster County, and the countless other worlds touched by the conflict began the slow process of healing. The Vanjikis, their bonds strengthened by the trials they had faced, returned to their respective timelines, guardians of their own stories and defenders of their right to write them. And as for the Vanjik of the false timeline, his journey did not end with the battle. There were still worlds to explore, injustices to right, and stories to tell. With the .44 Magnum at his side and the call sign network at his back, he stepped into the multiverse, a wanderer by choice, forever unbound by the chains of destiny. Thus, the story continues, not just for him but for all who dare to defy the darkness and carve their own paths through the tapestry of existence. For in the heart of every Vanjik, there lies the power to change the multiverse, one act of courage at a time. That marks the end of this epic tale. The journey of the Vanjik of the false timeline and his comrades against the impostor Vanjik and the false storyteller reaches its conclusion with their victory, symbolizing the triumph of free will and the power of unity against the forces that seek to control destiny. Their story serves as a testament to the resilience of the spirit and the boundless potential of individuals who come together to challenge the predetermined paths laid before them. As the narrative closes, the multiverse stands forever altered by their actions, a beacon of hope for all its inhabitants. The Vanjikis, through their struggles and triumphs, have etched their names into the annals of multiversal lore, leaving a legacy that will inspire countless others to forge their own stories in the vast expanse of existence. The end of this story is but a beginning for others, a reminder that every end heralds new beginnings, and every victory paves the way for future adventures. The Vanjikis' tale concludes, but the multiverse is alive with endless stories waiting to be told, and the call to adventure echoes eternally in the hearts of those brave enough to answer it. The end. V.C.S.N has received request from a Vanjik. System will honor request. It's been one multiversal year since I've seen or heard from a Vanjik, but I've been telling your stories. Playing audio log. Asterisk for now the war and the battle is over, the hope for the world is restored, but the nightmares will never end. Some will run and hide, some will join us, some will fight. Humanity is unique in its ability to adapt and overcome. The very sun itself tried to throw its hammer at us and we won. When the nightmares come to play, the Vanjikis will be here to stay. Tell me, nightmares, what scares you? What monsters are you afraid of? Is it humanity? Is it our hope? Is it our pride? Is it our sin? Or is it the fact despite our sin we still have pride? My people have been the slavers, my people have been the slaves, my people have been the minority and the majority, my kind has ruled and has been ruled under, we are the governed and the ungovernable, the kings and the rebels, We are both the good and the evil. My kind has committed to wholesale slaughter of others over nothing more than bad morals. But my people, my kind, my species, this human race will never stop growing. We are more than any other species to walk the universe. We will never die out. Not at the hands of an impostor or a freak of nature. You chose. You chose. You threw away your humanity. As I did mine a long time ago. This is my last audio log. The angels have finally forgave me. Hell Rider singing out, **.